Hey everyone, Steven here, and today I'm reviewing the MAONO PM500T microphone. This is actually the microphone that I'm using right now to do the voiceover work, so no small audio clips here. This is what I will be using for the entire video in its raw form. To start though, let's get into the specs here before I cover what I like and don't like about this microphone. I do want to preface this with the fact that I'm by no means an expert when it comes to audio, so some of the specs here are beyond my knowledge. The MAONO PM500T is a condenser microphone with a cardioid polar pattern. The frequency response is 20 Hz to 20 kHz with a sensitivity of -35.3 decibels at 1 kHz and an output impedance of 98.7 ohms. The rate load impedance is not less than 1K ohms, which I'm assuming is 1000 ohms based on the abbreviation. The maximum sound pressure level is 120 decibels, which is basically how much volume the microphone can take before it begins to distort audibly. The signal to noise ratio, which is the ratio of signal power to noise power corrupting the signal, is 70 decibels-A. The noise level is 20 units VRMS. The dynamic range is 120 decibels. And last, this requires 48 volt DC phantom power. This costs $149.99 on Amazon with frequent sales. Moving on, I'll have video of my unboxing of the PM500T playing right now. Inside the box, you will find the microphone, shock mount, pop filter, table stand, and XLR cable. This does not include a phantom power source, which you will need in order to use this and is actually sold separately. If you're on a budget, I recommend the entry-level phantom power supply from Neewer, which is $33. For the mic itself, there is a 34mm metal coated condenser capsule, and the mic is full metal body, so it feels very solid in quality. For my setup, I have this mounted on my Blue Compass mic arm, and I do want to note that this doesn't have the thread adapter for the 3/8 mounting, as the Blue Compass is actually 5/8 standard threading, which luckily the Blue Compass actually came with an adapter, but just a heads up in case someone is out there and wants to mount it on that specific threading. This is also a very light microphone, so it's not as well suited for my Blue Compass as it's made for heavier mics like the Shure SM7B. So I have my tension brackets turned to the max so this actually doesn't just start to float up. My NZXT mic arm on the other hand is made for lighter mics and doesn't have any issues with this. I'm also using the Focusrite Scarlett for my phantom power and audio interface. I have my levels set to neutral, so there isn't a boost for the audio here. It's just giving it a power source. MAONO does have their own audio interfaces though, which I'm hoping to test out in the future, which would pair great with this microphone and give you more control over the audio. So now that I've covered these specs, let's get into the things I like about this microphone, starting with the main reason for buying this at all, which is the sound it can capture, and I think this is actually quite good. Now, it's not going to be as good as my $400 Shure SM7B, but overall this has good sound to it, making it perfect for streamers and podcasters. This microphone is actually very similar in terms of the specs and price tag to the Comica STM01 I reviewed a couple years ago, and I'll actually have a link for that pop up right now in the corner. I think this is a great starting microphone for those wanting to get a little better sound than a Blue Yeti or other brands that are $50 to $100 and are typically USB microphones. This is smaller than the Comica microphone with better overall aesthetics, and they both have the same pop filter style, which I personally really like. It's non-invasive unlike other ones that have to clip on to the stand or mic arm and then wrap around. I actually wish my Shure SM7B came with one of these pop filters. Last, I like that this came with the shock mount, as I've used other products in the past that didn't come with it, and I ended up needing to buy it so I could actually mount it to the various mic arms that I use. The pop filter actually clips onto this also, which makes it far less likely to fall off. Now that I've covered the things I like about this microphone, let's cover the things I don't like, followed by the gray area things I think people might not like or at least should be aware of. Overall for me, there is very little to not like about this product, so I really only have one negative here, which is the pop filter lacks adjustments. I like the pop filter itself, as I mentioned earlier, but you can't tilt this forwards or backwards. Having the ability to adjust this would have been nice, as depending on the person and their distance away from the mic and how loud they talk, it can affect where they need the pop filter. For For me personally, I tend to move around when using a microphone, which helps me read my script better for reviews like this or just playing games. This movement though can cause the pops you may have heard in this video. If I'm in a good range, it won't happen, but I move around and I tend to lean into the mic more, creating a greater chance of the pop actually happening and this being able to pick that up. So for me, this is the only really big negative that I've seen with this product, considering its specs and price tag. A quick side note about this though is if you do have an interface for this, you can adjust the gain, and that will allow you to actually sit back a little bit further from this microphone. But as you increase the gain, you may pick up more static noise. So if you don't have any way to actually process out that noise, for instance, in Adobe Premiere Pro, I may use adaptive noise reduction to get rid of that. I haven't done that for this video though, or I may use NVIDIA Broadcast to actually get rid of that if I have an RTX NVIDIA card. So just a side note on that, but if you don't have any of those things, it is something that the adjustment would have been nice to have, where you don't have software to potentially filter that out so you can sit back a little bit more. Or maybe you're just like me and you move around a lot anyways. It's just something to be mindful of. And now for the gray area. I think to start with this, you really need to know what you're getting into when buying an XLR microphone, as the cost of the mic is one thing, but you'll need the phantom power and potentially an audio interface, so you'll have more than just the cost of the microphone. So the $150 price tag here is just part of what you'll need to pay to get recording, unless you already have those other products. Next, the stand will be great for podcasters and anyone needing to record audio without typing on a keyboard and using a mouse. For gamers though, I would recommend getting a mic arm. It's just less invasive, and although I don't think it's 100% necessary here, I do think most gamers will prefer using a mic arm over a stand. Last, this only has one polar pattern, which is really meant for one or two people in front of the microphone. So although it can be great for podcasting or doing Zoom meetings, this will be better suited for one or two people directly in front of the mic and not on opposite sides of a table. For instance, if you were to do an interview or a podcast where you needed that to be, like I said, two people on opposite ends of a table. And the reason for that is that this cardioid polar pattern won't really pick up audio that is behind the microphone. So again, good for anybody that is doing a podcast where it's just that one microphone in front of the person, maybe two, if you're doing Zoom meetings, if you're going to be streaming, and even if you wanted to do music, as long as it was just really meant to pick up your voice directly in front of it. So with this price tag being higher, it is important to know what your use will be. So if you do need other patterns with this, this may not be the microphone for you. So that is going to wrap up the gray area, and before I actually wrap this whole video up, I do want to do one sound test comparing this microphone to my Shure SM7B, the NZXT Capsule, and the Comica STM01. This is the Shure SM7B, and this costs $399.99. This is going to be the NZXT Capsule microphone, and this costs $129.99. This is the Comica STM01 microphone, and this costs $119.99. This is the MAONO PM500T microphone, and this costs $149.99. So that's going to wrap this video up. I think overall this is a great sounding microphone with a solid price tag and aesthetics. It's important to know what you're getting into with the XLR microphones though that need phantom power, and make sure the cardioid polar pattern will be what you need, because that's all this has. I'll have a link for this in the description if you want to pick it up, and if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section. If you like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.